In this video, we will discuss about properties of the cancer. So one of the major properties of the cancer is uncontrolled growth of cell. So let us understand this by comparing the normal cell with tumor cell. So what happens in the normal cell? This is an example of in vitro cell culture of normal cell and tumor cell. So in normal cell, when the cell proliferation occurs, and it is related to the growth factor that is present in the cell culture. And when the cell confluency is when the confluency of the cell in the cell culture plate or petri dish is full, then it stops it stops proliferating itself. However, its metabolic activity remains active, and this is known as normal cells behavior. And this can be understand from the cell cycle phase. So how the cell cycle phase work is that first one is the G1 phase. Let's start with the G1 phase. So G1 phase is the growth phase where cell actually grow itself, and this S phase is known as DNA synthesis phase where cell creates multiple copies of the DNA. And G2 phase is again the growth phase, and along with it it also prepares for the mitosis. And M phase is the final mitosis phase. Mitosis in general sense means the division of the cell, and this is how the cell division occur. And the growth factor plays a role in G1 phase, that is represented by a line with red. So when the growth of the cell occurs in G1 phase, it requires growth factor, and when there is no availability of growth factor in the medium, it switch over from this normal cell cycle phase to this G1 to G0 cell cycle phase. And what happens in that is that the metabolic activity of the cell remains active. However, it became quiescent. That is, it stops proliferating itself. However, in case of tumor cell, this is not the case. In a tumor cell, initially the proliferation occurs, and it is not uh, easy to differentiate between cancer cell and tumor cell uh, just by naked eyes. However, with time, the proliferation continues even when the confluency of the cell is full and there is no availability of growth factor. There could be many reasons, and two of the reasons that I have pointed out in the next slide. One of the reason could be that growth factor requirement by the cell has been reduced because of the abnormalities or the mutation that has occurred in the cancer cell. And for example, abnormalities in the intracellular signaling. And one of the classical example in this is the MAP kinase signaling that is occur with the help of RAS protein. So what RAS protein does is, RAS protein is the uh, family of G proteins, is the family of GDP proteins that coupled with growth factor to initiate MAP kinase signaling. However, in case of cancerous cell, this intracellular signaling gets affected, and the cancer cell no longer required uh, growth factor for such process in case of cancerous cell. And the second possibility is that cells, because of the abnormalities or mutation that has occurred in the cell starts producing their own growth factor, so they are no longer dependent upon the surrounding environment for the growth factor. And this situation is called as autocrine factor, and it is explained with the help of uh, this it is explained it can be easily understand with the help of this diagram. So this is the first cell, and it secretes its own growth factor, and that is consumed by the cell itself. And, um, and this uh, helps the cells to remain in the normal cell cycle phase instead of switching it to the uh, G0 cell cycle phase, G0 G1 cell cycle phase. And so with this, the cell proliferate itself and divide into two cell, and the same process continues to occur. The cell generates its own growth factor that is consumed by itself, and this result in further division of cells. So this is one of the possibilities by which cell grow rapidly and not dependent upon the surrounding environment, whereas normal cell depends upon the surrounding environment for the growth factor. So that's all for this video. Thank you for your time.